just getting going for the morning. We've got our fire going and we're warming up by it. It gets pretty chilly in the cabin at night. It is about 10 degrees outside right now and the sun's out, peeking out for a little bit. So we're gonna go enjoy that and say good morning to the dogs and take care of all the animals before we get to work a little ways up the hill and get some burn piles done.
Hi everyone. Ow! Oh, hello, girl.
So this will be our 5th month of burning the wood stove going into March. When we started the winter, we had this whole thing full, probably 2 cords of wood. So this is what we got left. So we may need to restock here. We'll probably be burning wood until the end of at least the middle of April. So we'll see how it goes.
Today we're working on getting these burn piles burnt up. This one's going to be our start today. We might be able to work on something else today, but probably not. We do have a lot of snow on them, which makes them a little bit harder to burn. But because of all the snow that we have on the ground, it makes it a lot safer to burn. We don't have any way to have a big old water truck up here. It was hard enough for our truck to get up here.
So we got a couple of things that we need to take care of first. We need to get this tree taken out. It's got mistletoe on it, so it needs to come down. This tree needs to get limbed, and I think that we're actually going to be able to use some of that as a builder for our cabin. But we'll get this area nice and cleaned up, and hopefully this burn pile burns the way we want it to.
All of our burn piles are the slash wood that we have remaining from the trees that we are harvesting for our log cabin, and then ones that are just unhealthy. If you take a look back here how thick it is, that is how thick all of this was here on this hill. Our forest is really unhealthy, and we are working to create a much healthier forest and use it as silvopasture. So we are leaving some trees. Unfortunately, there aren't a whole lot that we can leave because of how unhealthy they are. There's a few factors that go into picking the trees that we do keep and the ones that we take out. I'll show you those. So this tree here is a western larch, and it looks like it's a nice young sapling that's really healthy. But if you take a closer look, you can see it got scarred here. And anything like this at a young age is really going to damage the tree because it can't protect itself from that. So even if this tree grows up for many, many years and does just fine and gets to be a large tree, it's always going to be more susceptible to parasites and things like bark beetles. And if one tree is susceptible to it and that tree gets it, the trees that don't have problems with them, like scars, and aren't as susceptible will be more likely to get them if this tree gets it here. So we don't have a very diverse forest. We actually only have 2 trees. We have western larch and Douglas fir. Every once in a while you'll find a ponderosa, but that's all we've got. And our problem with the Douglas fir is that we have a really big issue with mistletoe here. This tree, you can see it looks like just a terrible cyst, and these big round bunches on it. This is what mistletoe does to the trees. It's a parasite, and the species of mistletoe that is on Douglas firs is actually different than the one that you hang around Christmas time. And it creates these big burls on it because it is on there and it's pulling all of the tree's energy to wherever the mistletoe is. So that's why it creates those big, big, disgusting burls. Take a look at that tree. You can really see the visible burls on it as well. That one there too. And on some of them, like this one here that's really big and tall, on first glance, you wouldn't see any large burls on it. But if you take a closer look, like right there, that is a mistletoe burl. And although most of the tree looks healthy, it does have mistletoe. The unfortunate thing about mistletoe is that you can't get rid of it without totally removing the tree that has it. And unfortunately, it will spread and continue to spread to all of the Douglas fir trees that we have here, as long as there are mistletoe trees around. And we border state land. It's actually just behind me a little ways. And they have a ton of old growth mistletoe trees. So just these big old lovely Douglas fir trees, but they have mistletoe on them. So because they're so big and tall, they will continue to spread the mistletoe forever and ever to all of the younger growth. And there's nothing you can do about it. So other than removing those trees, and the state isn't doing that. So we have to basically completely take out all of our Douglas firs to eliminate the mistletoe problem, and then replant with new succession species, like helping the western larch to do better because it does get choked out oftentimes by the Douglas fir. This is a really bad mistletoe tree behind me, all nice and shaggy like that. And then all these young ones here are totally just full of mistletoe. Just like the scars on trees, mistletoe is essentially, it creates a diseased and unhealthy and weak tree. So these trees are more susceptible to things like bark beetles. And again, once those trees get them, the rest of the forest is more susceptible, even if it's a healthy tree. It's also really helpful for the forest to be thinning it. The trees are choking each other out the way that it is right now. And the thinner it is, we'll be able to grow more plants underneath it and have better grasses growing so that we can graze it as silvopasture. This is a younger tree, and it has mistletoe that's already pretty much killed it. And you might think that this tree is only a couple years old, but if you take a closer look, down at the very bottom of the trunk here, you can see that it's starting to develop the thick outer bark that older trees have. And so if I were to cut this tree down and take a look at how many rings it has, this tree is probably 20 years old. And it's been stunted because of the mistletoe and because of how dense it is here. It just hasn't been able to grow. So this tree, it's already dead from the mistletoe, but if it was a little healthier and hadn't been killed already, it would just need to come out, because after getting stunted like this, it'll never grow into a big, healthy tree. I don't know if any of you have ever worked with trees with mistletoe, but they're actually really dangerous when it comes to limbing them and bucking them up for firewood. All of the knots and burls and crazy branches make it really challenging to get in there and limb them, and it can be kind of scary when all of those sticks are flying off everywhere. They're just really not ideal to be working with, but They are the lumber that we are using for our cabin, so it's kind of a cool thing. All of the wood that we're using are trees that they need to come out, and we're able to actually use them for something, you know, they're gonna be our house.
So the first bit of this tree, I cut off the bell at the bottom. That's the super wide part. That's gonna make building with it really difficult, but I measured 20 feet out from that, and I just got the little tape measure with me today, so I had to make do. But I cut that to 20 feet. When the snow melts, we'll get that out with the tractor and get peeling on that. And then this little piece right here, I'm just gonna buck up for firewood, and then this top piece was just, you know, it's not really worth doing much besides burning it. So we'll have this for firewood.
Bud, you want in? The dogs are really used to chainsaw work happening around them, so they know to just stay out of the way, and they actually really like to ask to get in the truck to take a nap in there while we're working with the chainsaws. So once we're all finished up with that, we'll let them back out. Yeah, pressure comes out a little bit.
Nothing is going still.
we've got the pile pretty much burnt up. Part of the reason that we do this in winter, even though it takes a lot more work and a lot more to get it going, is because the snow creates a wonderful barrier so that the fire does not move at all. It actually doesn't even burn up the very stuff on the edges, so we have to move it in. So it's really nice and safe. We don't have to worry about having a big water truck up here.
This went pretty well today, wouldn't you say?
Yeah.
Yeah, so we've got this thing pretty much burnt down. Just adding the stuff from the sides in, and we got 2 more builders cut to size, so in the spring we'll be able to move those with the tractor and start peeling those. And we've got 1 more tree down behind Skyly there that we're going to deal with on our next burn pile, so some more work left for next time. This is what happens.
Yeah, don't wear clothes that you're in love with.
Yep.
Wearing a hat is also quite necessary if you don't want your hair to get totally singed and on fire.
You excited? Mitte. Out. Down. Spot. Push. Push. Spot. Down. Mitte. Mund. Sieg. Sieg. Aus. Spot. Mitte. Fuß. Sit. Niet. Fuß. Sit. Rack. Sit. Mitte. Spot. Mitte. Spot. Mitte. Sieg. Aus. Mund. Was? Yes. Mund. Down. Down. Was? Yes. Yes. Aus. Down. Mund. Was? Yes. Was? Yes. Was? Yes. Good boy. Aus. Da. Da. Was? Oh. Yes. Aus. Mund. Mund. Was? Yes.
Tonight we are having elk tacos with sourdough tortillas. We love these tortillas so much. I make them every 4 or 5 days and we go through them really quickly. This elk meat is from the bull elk that Jaden harvested this fall, or this last fall. It has been a huge blessing to not have to be buying all of our meat from the store. We've been living off of this elk and also a deer, a buck that he harvested.